I'm so sick of this weekend. I don't even want to hear.
So did the wind ever die down yesterday?
It did a little bit, and then it came back. It was not going away. What about you guys?
We'll talk about it. Yeah. And now I'm exhausted. Do you get wedding hangovers?
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I think I had a hangover driving in the car afterwards.
I'm sure.
You had to wake me up this morning. So, yeah.
Yep. We're doing this one in bed today because that's where we stay on Sundays if we don't have a wedding on a Sunday. So welcome back to This Takes the Cake. I'm Sarah with our Hilton Head Island and Savannah office.
And I'm Michelle from our Dallas-Fort Worth office in Texas.
This is our first time doing the podcast together.
I'm doing it in person. I don't get to do that a lot.
Yeah, I know. And wedding season is in full swing for us. March to middle of summer, which is crazy because it's so hot and awful in summer.
How long does it last? How long does the summer last for you guys here?
Summer, I feel like it's like always summer.
Oh, yeah.
No, like hot summer is June, July, August. So it's like excruciating.
So my season is busy now through end of August. And then it picks back up October.
Yeah.
So I get like a month break.
Yeah.
I think I have a ton of weddings in August.
Yeah, that's
weird.
good. I don't have any yet, but I'm okay with that because that's when it's the hottest. So we're March to middle of July, then August we don't have anything, and then September to December. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So this episode we're gonna give a recap on our weddings that we did.
So Sarah, you had a wedding yesterday.
I did.
Why don't you tell us about us?
Okay.
About it.
Well, it was at Hague Point, which is a really cool experience for guests. It's on an island down here in Hilton Head. You have to take a ferry to get there, which I'll talk about. The colors were super bright. I loved it. Like pinks, yellows, purples, blues, orange. It was beautiful. And so our clients live in Georgia, and they just wanted a guest experience, and they found Hague Point because they have some ties to Hilton Head. And so when they booked it, we became instant friends. She's already ready to do the podcast. Like yesterday.
I love that.
Yesterday during portraits after the ceremony, she's like, "This is so stunning and brilliant." I was like, "Oh my gosh."
I love when they use the words, and I'm like dying inside. And they're like, "Oh, everything's so stunning. Everything's so brilliant."
Yeah, I know.
And then they give me a wink, and I'm like, "Okay, that was a little corny, but I love it."
Yeah. And she's like, "So when can we do the podcast?" I'm like, "Whenever you want." So what about you? What did your wedding look like?
So by the way, we're in person because I stepped in to help Sarah this weekend. So the wedding that I did was fabulous. The couple were stunning, so sweet. The bridal party was like willing to step in and help. So that's always amazing.
Yeah.
But the wind was like a main character that I did not want there at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
tell us about the venue. Like it was on the open marsh.
So this is very different from Dallas.
Yep.
In Dallas, I'm indoors.
Yeah.
We do have outdoor ceremonies and outdoor cocktail hours, but it's so hot that everything's indoors.
Mm-hmm.
You come here, first of all, I get in that gate to the island, and then you still drive like 20 minutes, and I'm like, where is this venue? It was stunning. It definitely was an experience for me.
Yeah.
So you go in, it was at a clubhouse, and it's off a golf course. There's like swamps, beautiful trees, oak trees, which I've never seen in person.
It's kind of dreamy.
It is.
It's really dreamy.
Yes.
Like if you just sit and watch in the marsh, like in the background, it's really dreamy, and it's very different than Texas.
Yes, it is very different. It was stunning, honestly. And if it weren't for the wind, I mean, everything would have been perfect.
Yes.
But we managed.
So this was the largest wedding that I have done.
You ran into some challenges, most
Yes.
likely. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So everything to get to Defusky Island has to be barged over. There's no other way around it. There's no bridge to it. So passengers get on a ferry to get over there, like guests and members. But vendors have to take a barge. So they have to contact the barge. They have to put their truck on the barge, and then the barge comes over. Then they have to get into Hague Point from the ferry. So it's like a whole logistical thing. But because we've done it before, we know how to help all of the vendors get there and do it easily. And then once they get there, like they have to have a shuttle over to get their truck off the barge, and then they come back into the venue. And that is like the hardest part of all of it, I think. It's just getting the people there. Getting the vendors there is the hardest part, just because of all of the moving pieces to it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it
crazy.
probably makes for a really long day.
It does, but luckily we had them come in all week this week. So it started
that's
on
great.
Tuesday. Vendors were coming in each day, dropping and setting up. So it wasn't all crazy on Saturday. Usually like when they all arrive, they're all working. No, it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of vendors arriving and setting up. So that made wedding day a lot smoother for setup, because usually, we're like running around and doing all these things, but we made it work throughout the week. So it was
I
good.
love setup that is extended and not all in one day.
Yes, me too.
So let's talk about this ferry.
Okay.
I've never been on a ferry.
Okay.
I usually drive to my weddings.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So you get to the embarkation, and you have to get your ferry ticket. And then you go wait at the dock, which is fun because there's dolphins in the water and people boating. So it's
cool.
kind of fun. And then you get on the ferry, and there's no cars. So there's some ferries that will allow you to drive a car. It's only a passenger ferry. So you get on, and it's about a 20-minute, 30-minute ferry ride. You get to see like the water, you go into the river, you can see the ocean. You go like halfway through it, and then you get to the other side, to Hague Point, and you get off the dock. And once you arrive, people are there greeting you, and so it's really cool. It's a fun experience. It scares a lot of people because they're like, I have to do what? But
I bet.
Yeah,
you have to go over a body of water to get to the venue.
Yeah, and then you're kind of just stuck there, unless you bring the ferry back over. But we
Wait, what about guests? If they want to leave early,
so the ferry
how often does it run?
Yeah, the ferry runs on certain times. So it leaves the Hague Point Island, which is Defusky Island. It leaves on the 40s once an hour. So like 140, 240. So you have to wait. It's not bad. You have to wait if you want to go somewhere, and you have to time it out right. And then coming over, it leaves on the 30s. So like 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. So yeah, you kind of have to wait there. So for the past year and a half, we've been planning like for 300 guests to come over. How are we going to do that?
Oh, wow.
How are we going to time them out? How many shuttles do we need to get them to embarkation?
And how large is the ferry?
It's
You have
pretty
300
big.
guests.
It holds probably about 100 people.
Okay.
But some people stayed on the island, so they didn't need the ferry. Some people stayed in another resort that has their own little water taxi. It's a smaller boat, so they were able to take that. But yeah, it's interesting. But it's fun because like you get to be on a boat and hang out for a little while.
It's so interesting when I hear about wedding venues and like experiences in the different locations. Because in Dallas, I mean, all you do is drive.
Yeah.
Because there's so much land you're driving.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of your favorite details of the day.
So we created these flower towers in cocktail hour.
Okay.
So, they were kind of just placed randomly in cocktail hour. It's kind of like a ceremony arch, like a one-piece ceremony arch. But we did that within cocktail hour too, to create this whimsy feel for everybody.
Can't wait to see photos.
I know. It was kind of like boho, low country, eclectic kind of feel for that. The bride really she was obsessed. So I was like, yay, we're going to do these flower towers.
So you had talked about planning this wedding for over a year now.
Yes.
So how many hours did it take? How many team members? Tell us about kind of the behind the scenes.
Okay. So number of hours. Oh gosh. So we went with our full planning package, which is up to 180 hours. They definitely got that.
Okay.
And our vendor team, let's see, we probably had, I think it was about 10 to 12 vendors, which is average for this size wedding, if not a little more, depending on how many small details you have. And on wedding day, we had 7 team members for Stunning and Brilliant with us, which was great. And I think that was a really good number because, like I said, vendors were setting up throughout the week, so we didn't need to manage all of the vendors throughout the day. We could really focus on small details.
That sounds like a dream. That does not happen on wedding day for me.
I know. It was great. My team was amazing. I couldn't have asked for anything better from them. They took a ton of stress off of me. Yes, it was great. It was amazing. Dallas from Myrtle Beach came down and was like a huge help. So I love you, Dallas. Thank you. But yeah, it was insane. And this was probably the longest wedding day that I had.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Yeah. We got there we started at like 8. So I woke up at 5, which I don't do. But I woke up at 5, got ready. 8 o'clock is when it started, and then I didn't get home till 1:15 a.m. So
that is a very long day. It was a
long day. Yes. Hence the wedding hangover. Well, tell us the longest wedding day that you've ever had.
Gosh, my days are typically 12 to 13 hours a day. Yeah. I prefer to stay the whole day only because, like, for me, I'm working with clients, so as their lead planner, I understand their vision, how they want to execute it. I'm an extension of them on wedding day, so I do prefer to be the first vendor there. After hair and makeup, so I get there towards the tail end of hair and makeup, greet all the vendors, make sure that they're all set and ready for the day, and then I'm the last person out. So usually 12 to 13 hours, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think maybe one day I worked 14 hours, which is long, but it goes by quickly.
It does. It really does go by quickly.
So you worked with a huge vendor team, amazing team yesterday. Any vendors that stood out?
Yes. So they're all amazing. They were all great. Previous to setup, like one of the earlier days in the week, we had a structure and it broke, and thank God it was like not on wedding day, but our lighting team, JLK Lighting, fixed it because the event or the rental team had already left for the day. And this was actually a different day. So the rental team had already left. They were on site somewhere else. We immediately called them, but they were like 4 hours away. So they eventually sent somebody that they did come. But JLK Lighting saved the day. They fixed the structure that needed to be fixed. They took time away from what they were doing to do it. Like,
that's so amazing.
I might cry because they like literally saved the moment. So they were great. But all of the vendors, everything that we rented, it was fantastic. It was beautiful.
I think I met him yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he came up to me and he introduced himself.
Yes.
And he was just super nice.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate when vendors, like, they had never met me.
Yeah.
So he comes up to me. He's like, hi, I did your lighting. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're so sweet to take a minute and just talk to me.
Yeah.
Not like go straight into wedding day and start setting up. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
So.
Yeah, they're great people. I like working with them. All right, Michelle, was there a moment that this takes the cake?
So the wind. I have to keep talking about this wind because it was so wild.
It was wild.
I think just the weather here is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
in Texas, yes, it's a little crazy. You don't know what to expect, but for the most part, you just expect really hot weather.
Yeah.
It goes from like cold in the morning to really hot. The wind was just all over the place. I I was like showering. I actually got sunburnt, but I don't remember the sun coming out.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
So yes, and then
You had like tables blow
so I
over.
texted you. You were like, "So how's it going?" I was like, "The wind," in like capital letters. The fire ants in capital letters.
Welcome to the South.
I know. I'm like standing in the grass for ceremony, and these fire ants are climbing up my leg. So I'm like trying very calmly to be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. This is very itchy." So I got bit. But yeah,
so sorry.
I think just
did the bugs get you too? Like the little
they weren't
gnats?
that bad because it was so windy.
Okay.
There was only one bug on the cake. I was very surprised.
Yeah, that always happens if
Yes.
you're outside by the water. Bugs will show up on the cake.
Yeah, I think just the weather.
Yeah.
And then just like, I mean, the team that we had yesterday, they were so amazing.
Good.
I always am so nervous because wedding day can be so chaotic, but they came in and they were like, "What can we do?"
Yeah.
I was like, "You gotta put the seashells back on the seating chart that fell off. Go get a glue gun.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, there's no extension cord, so you gotta run over there, glue gun the shell, run all the way there before the glue cools down, put it on the seating chart." And they were all about it, and they were so sweet. I mean, there wasn't a moment where they looked at me and they're like, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you so much. I'm like, I don't know what I would have done without you.
Yeah,
but I think the wind takes the cake yesterday.
The wind definitely takes the cake yesterday.
It took the cocktail tables,
took our
blew them over.
Took our cocktail tables. We had a champagne drink wall that was 24 feet long.
I saw the photo.
It fell over. It fell over before ceremony. We had a sign across it. It broke half of the sign.
Oh my goodness.
So again, we're on an island. The rental company's not there because they've already done their thing. So thankfully, the venue workers were able to lift it up. By the way, it's like 300 pounds, 400 pounds. So they're like pushing it back up. We're taking the pieces of the sign that broke. We're gluing them back together. We're taping them back together as quickly as we can. We're putting it back up on the wall. And
Did you get it back up?
We got it back up. It all worked out. We got through ceremony, cocktail hours happening, and the wall falls again.
Of course.
Thankfully, nobody was there. Nobody was hurt, but some glasses might have got broke because there was still stuff on it. So the wind takes this one.
Yeah.
We definitely had cocktail tables knocked over, but I think after ceremony, like it died down for us. And so it was still breezy enough to where it was nice. Like the weather was nice. But no crazy incidences, but the wind definitely takes the cake yesterday. It was something, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could trade locations for a day with any location, who would you trade?
This is so hard. I would not trade it for any of the locations near here. So I honestly, I say this. I'm an indoor wedding girl. I will not. The tenant weddings I've done, I love them.
They're different.
They're beautiful. But if I had a preference, it would be indoor weddings.
Yeah.
So probably Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago. Love the venues there. I mean, it's a big city just like Dallas. So Chicago probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we have a new location in Aspen.
We do.
So maybe we will see. I might change my mind.
I know. We just need to all go to Aspen.
What about you?
Super hard question to answer. I really don't think I can pick one. Like I came and worked for you before.
How many locations do we have?
12.
14 locations. You can't choose any of the 14 locations.
I know. No, because I want to work at all of them. I came to Dallas before and worked for you. Yeah. I was at the Olana, which I'd been following for a really long time.
I know.
And then you told me, and I was like, no way, I'm coming. So,
it's stunning.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
I've done Myrtle Beach before. I've done Palm Beach before. I did Charleston. So like any of the other ones, I love Nashville. I think Nashville is such a fun city.
So fun.
And so like their weddings are a little different. Definitely Aspen and Vail.
Yeah.
Tampa would be really like they just all are. Chicago would be fun because like you were saying the opposite. Like we do a bunch of tinted weddings and we're outside, but Chicago is just
they have amazing buildings.
It's like so beautiful that I don't know. All of them. Finger Lakes, I mean, New York City, like, ugh.
Yep.
I don't know. They're all great. Michelle, have you had any moments that have taken the cake?
Okay.
Besides the wind.
So, not Taylor Swift. So, I did have a wedding.
Did she show up? Was
no.
Taylor Swift at your wedding?
I wish. So, this wedding, bride and groom did not want to dance. They were just the type that didn't really care to dance. They just wanted to mingle with guests, have a cocktail. All of a sudden, there's a Taylor Swift that comes on. I'm literally walking to the DJ to say something. I turn around, and the groom has his shirt off, dancing to Taylor Swift. And I think, we've seen a lot of, groom and groomsmen take their shirt off. Sometimes they just go wild. Right. But this one, it had to take the cake for me because they were not dancing. We didn't expect them to dance. All of a sudden, Taylor Swift of all songs comes on, and he's so half naked.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yes,
that is so funny.
That takes the cake from me.
Oh my God. What are some things you do to prepare the week before wedding weekend?
Yes. So the week before the wedding is just kind of putting a bow on everything, finishing details. So one, packing list from the bride and groom, just making sure that I'm reviewing all of that. I like to literally understand every single detail. So if there's okay, for example, the LED batons, I feel like I'm just like a broken record when I'm like, okay, well, if you haven't opened them, just make sure that they're not individually sealed. And if they are, I do ask that you remove the individual plastics or remove the tabs though.
Yes.
But little things like that, just to make sure that wedding day goes smoothly.
Going your through seating chart, your escort cards in alphabetical order.
Yes.
Please.
Or if you're having them on the table, put them in little baggies at each table.
Yes.
And most brides are like, yeah, I've already done that. And I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. Or they've labeled every single tote or every single box and then what goes on what table and it has a table number with the tote. I'm like, thank you.
Yes. I also remind couples to bring their marriage license for the third or fourth time because I do have couples who forget it. There's so much going on wedding day and you have to, in Texas, you have to sign it on the day of. I'm sure it's everywhere else. You have to sign it the day of. And most times the officiant is from out of town, so they fly out the next day. And I'm like, you got to bring it.
Yeah.
So make sure you bring it. We talk about just confirming rehearsal, confirming everyone who's going to be there. Personally, I print out all my timelines, get my timelines for my assistants ready, pack my emergency kit, which keeps growing and growing.
Yes. Every time somebody asks for something and I don't have it,
I'm like, ding, Amazon.
Yes. So I put underwear in mine.
Oh my gosh.
I have extra panties for the ladies.
Where was my panties in my emergency kit yesterday?
Did you need some?
No. Oh my gosh, if I would have opened the emergency kit and saw panties, I would have died.
I have panties in mine.
I do socks, groom socks.
That's smart. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't have panties. But yes, my emergency kit keeps growing. I've gone from a backpack to a backpack and a container to a backpack container. And then
a wagon. Do you have a wagon?
I started
bringing a wagon.
Yes, because we're doing weddings all the time.
Yeah.
Like we said, it's a 12 to maybe 14 plus hour day. I can't carry stuff all day.
I know.
I'm getting old. My back hurts.
That's why we're sitting in bed doing this podcast because day after everything hurts. It sucks.
So speaking of week of the wedding, Have you had any wedding changes that may have been challenging, and how did you approach them?
Yes. So we had a wedding and the guest count changed drastically.
Most drastically.
Like 30 to 40 extra
That's
people.
a lot. That's a few tables.
Yeah. So we planned for, this was a tented wedding. So we planned for a certain number of guests, had all the tables, all the chairs, all the place settings, everything we needed, vendor count or guest count for food. And when that number goes up or down, you have to let all of these people know, and you have to make the changes. So we
got linens,
Yes.
chairs, food, obviously,
yes, chargers,
bar,
yeah, plates, silverware, all of it.
stationery.
Yes. Even like your bar drink, like glasses and everything changes. So week of wedding, so we were at like 130 was the initial. Then we went up to 150. Then we went up to 160. And then we were at, I think for a while we were at 150, and I was like, this is the number we're going with.
And this is all in 1 week.
150. It was like 2 weeks worth.
Oh my gosh.
I was like 150, and she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, 150 is it. I think it was like Monday of wedding. She's like, well, we're at 160. I was like, I don't have chairs for 160 and I can't get any more. This is one of the busiest wedding weekends. Like we're going to do what we can do. And she was like, okay. So then every day she's like, well, now we're at 150. And I was like, okay, great. We planned for 150. And next day she's like, well, we're at 130. And I was like, well, we planned for 150. So whatever happens, happens at this point. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not taking away. Wedding day comes. We set everything up. We had to rearrange some chairs because she had bulkier chairs, and with her tent size and the space of the land, like we couldn't add any more tents or anything like that.
We didn't have more space.
We didn't have more space.
Work with what you had.
Right. So wedding day came, we set everything up. She had these gorgeous chairs, and they were all different chairs. So it was like really fun.
Oh, fun.
But we had to start taking them away from tables because the chairs wouldn't fit at the tables with the number of people that she was expecting. So I'm taking away chairs. I'm like, I have to move these chairs. And she's like, okay. Well, thankfully, I don't even think 130 were there. Like, I think we were less than that.
Really?
Yeah. Because we had like a table or two that was completely empty. And I was like, this is fine. It all worked out. But yeah, I think that was, yeah.
I feel like that always happens.
Yes.
I had a similar situation where the bride was like, oh, we're going to have 175 now instead of 160. And I'm like, 175 is the capacity of that venue.
Oh, no.
Literally 175 chairs only.
Yeah.
And space-wise, like just like you,
Yeah.
there was no space. How many people show up? Maybe 150. And I'm like, and to them, they don't notice. They look at a pool of people and they're like, oh yeah, it looks like 175. But as a planner, you know how many chairs go on a table.
Yes.
You know how many tables.
Yeah.
You've done the math in your head.
Yes.
I'm like, there's only 150. There's only 150. So we didn't run out of chairs.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That happens often.
Yeah, it does. And they just think it's like no big deal. Like, I'll invite these 20 other people. I'm like, thanks
That
for the heads
affects
up.
everything.
Yes.
But that's why you have a planner.
Yeah. It was an adventure for you to get here.
Yes.
So tell me about it.
So
Because we didn't get to talk.
I know. So if I'm traveling to a wedding, I don't want to get there on wedding day.
Right.
I want to be prepared, get there the day before wedding day, at least. And I was supposed to do the rehearsal last night, or 2 nights ago now. So my flight was supposed to be at 10 a.m. on a Friday. So I called you early in the morning, and I was like, hi, Sarah. So my flight is delayed. And basically all day, like my flight kept getting delayed. Yeah. I had to change the car rental reservation. And then finally it stopped getting, I must have gotten like 20, 30 text messages. It was so wild. I've never experienced this before. And then finally my flight was going to be at 8:17. So I get to the airport and I'm like, okay, great. It's going to be a little late, and I'm texting you.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad. I'm like, Sarah probably thinks I'm the worst person texting her like the night before her biggest wedding. I'm like, oh yeah, delayed.
No. It's good to know these things because like we put a plan in place of like if you weren't here, this is what's gonna happen. Like
I was gonna be there. I was like, okay. Okay, car rental. How long does it take? Like
18 hours. I'll get in the car. I'll just never sleep again.
So finally, the plane is delayed again, maybe another 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. They start boarding 2 groups, and then something like the air marshal, his shift timed out, and they're like, sorry guys, we need to delay the flight a little longer. And then all of a sudden everyone's phones start ringing, and the flight was delayed till 5 a.m. the next day, which was wedding day.
Yep. Yeah.
So I drove home. I went to bed for like a few hours, woke up at 3:30, and I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm like, okay, just get coffee when I get there. No Starbucks are open that early. I forgot. And I'm a Starbucks girl. Like, I have to have my coffee.
Can you please be 24 hours?
I know. So then I finally got on the airplane, and then the captain was like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Like, they haven't put our bags on the plane, so we'll be here for another 20 minutes. Literally everything was delayed. I don't know. This was like the worst airline ever. And then I finally get to Savannah, and the car rental. I was going to die. She's like, yeah, we don't have your car.
Oh, my God.
Another 15 minutes. Another 15 minutes goes by. I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, I got to get ready. So I'm putting on like a face full of makeup. I'm like,
in the rental car place.
Yes, like primer, bronzer, everything. And I'm like, I got to get wedding ready now.
Yes.
Because in 2 hours, I have to be at the wedding venue. So I got all ready, and an hour goes by. And I'm checking in, and an hour goes by, and I'm like, okay, I was nice before, but I have to leave now.
This is life or death.
I'm like, someone's getting married. I have to be there. Yeah. So I say, I don't care what car you give me at this point, just any car. And she's like, well, you got this. You paid for this, so we have to wait for this car. I only have a Dodge Charger. And I'm like, I will get in the Charger.
Yes, give it to me.
And they finally give me a car, and they gave me a minivan. And I was like, all right, Michelle, you're doing this. Driving a minivan to the wedding. So I got there on time. But for me, like, I like to get there early. So that just kind of threw off my day.
Yeah, it's stressful when we can't get to where we need to get to on time.
Like, when you're a planner, like you plan your day out. But anyways, that was a fiasco.
Yeah, we had it all planned out. We're like, if Michelle's not coming, then I've got my a girl here that can lead on call. We'll just switch her from my wedding to that wedding. Like, I had everything ready to go. If you were like, well, my plane's just not ever gonna come, and I'm like, okay, great.
I was looking at like every single flight to get here.
I was looking at flights too. Like, we had a couple people looking for flights for you, but it all worked out. You made it. I feel awful that you were up since 3:30 yesterday and didn't get back until close to midnight.
I knew I was gonna stay up. There have been really long days. There was a Starbucks at the airport though.
Yes.
So my go-to drink, everyone listen in case I ask for a coffee, is a venti cinnamon dolce oat milk latte with an extra shot, no whipped cream, and a stopper so they can stay hot.
Okay. Quick Starbucks story for you. So I'm not a coffee drinker. So I went to Starbucks I don't know, for the first time 10-ish years ago. And I told my friends, I don't like coffee. She's like, it's okay. I'm going to order for you. I'm like, okay. She orders me a vanilla bean frappuccino. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Why have I never had this before? It's a milkshake. But since
with the vanilla cream. Oh, yeah. There's no coffee in it.
No coffee. It's literally like a milkshake is what it is. But my go-to now is a venti mango dragon fruit with lemonade. So it's nice and refreshing. Well, thank you for listening to This Takes the Cake. We've enjoyed our time together. Yes. I'm so glad you were able to come.
I know.
Yes. So thankful for you. You guys can find us on social media at Stunning and Brilliant Events. You can contact me at my email address, Sarah with an H, SARAH at stunningandbrilliantevents.com.
And you can contact me, Michelle.Pesca at stunningandbrilliantevents.com. check us out on our new website. I think it's been new
Yes.
for a month or so.
Yeah.
Instagram,
Yep. Facebook, TikTok.
YouTube.
We're all over the place. See you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.